So, welcome everyone. We're going to have our second state of development video. This time it's a live stream. We've got a couple gents here that have been working on this quite diligently. Yeah, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick and say hello.
Hi, hi. My name is Stefan Kraus, one of the world creator developers. And yeah, you probably already know me.
Everybody knows you. But who do we not know very well?
I guess that's me. I'm Stefan Jakob. I'm also one of the founders of Bytes to Bytes, and I'm also on the team. And I'm currently mostly doing support for all the customers and all the web stuff.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you guys for joining me during this. Yeah, feel free to answer any questions you guys may see and we can get started. So this is a new build that it was it's not out just yet. They can tell you when it'll be out to the public, but it was literally just done this morning. So we'll show you a few new things. I know it's a bit different from the last time that we showed it on the YouTube channel. It's going to be some new optimizations, new features, more filters, which is always nice to see more filters. And yeah, so let's get started. So the first thing that I'm sure everyone is quite interested to see is the custom base shape filter is finally applied. It has been an ongoing effort to ask for this, I'm sure. So here in the biome tab at the top, you can see, well, here if we have the base settings here for each biome, the first icon, which I'm sure will be something different than a magic wand tool because the second magic wand tool is the filters. But the first one's the custom base shape tool, and there's a few new settings that you can see. The first one is obviously enabling that setting. And once your mouse is hovering over the terrain, we can see a grid pattern that lets you know exactly how it's being subdivided. But one of the cool things is if we were to subdivide this just once, it's only subdividing once, twice, and 3 times, and 4 times. So you can add more precision level on your control. Guys, was there any other additional levels of subdivision control that you had planned per biome or in this particular biome per section? Because I know before, which we haven't showcased here, you double clicked in one of these squares and it subdivided it even further. But everyone seemed to like already having it subdivided out for you already.
Yeah, well, the custom base shape and all these subdivisions will work per biome. Actually, the current build is just working on one single biome. So if you add another, it just will hopefully not crash. But
we're not gonna show that. We just tested that out.
Don't show that. And yeah, as I said, so the custom base shape will work per biome. So every biome will have its own custom base shape, and because the biomes are actually masks, um, then you have, imagine it like you can do your custom terrain based on a biome mask, but it's not necessary anymore to double click and subdivide further. So because the brush is actually doing it. If you increase the brush size, you can do that with the left control. Then you can see that the brush increases in size, and then you have a large control of the mesh, and with lower sizes you have. So actually, it's like the sub. Yeah, think of it like a brush subdivision, something like that. I don't know the name for this. However, one thing that's gonna be added, but it's not yet included, is like if you design at a lower subdivision and you're changing the subdivision. Currently the entire terrain is going to be deleted, like cleared, but there will be a transition. So if you just want to have a very rough terrain, you could start with a very low subdivision first, and then switch it to a higher subdivision. And yeah, you will see that the terrain will adapt automatically. So, but it's not working right now.
Yeah, obviously that's perfectly fine. And as he said, I'm gonna change my subdivisions back to 5 here so that we can see a little bit more. So he said that if I were to hold down on control and scroll with the mouse wheel, it increases and decreases the size of the brush. This is really handy because then you won't feel like you're having to just paint forever. If you have a subdivision that's, like this, it's not that's a lot of squares to try and figure out where they are. So um, that's quite handy. So I'm holding down control and scrolling up on the mouse wheel to increase the overall selection size. And then you just click and hold on the left mouse wheel and drag, and you can see this is the selection that I've made. If you want to add to that selection, you just hold down control again and then click in the selection area. Now to get this to raise up and down, just hold down on shift and raise your mouse, and you can see that the selection is going up or down. Now we can see, which I'm sure for the first time all of our normal users see, we can specify or raise up and down to an exact meter in height, which is really cool in my opinion. It's just really fascinating to see that. Also, if I were to make another selection, and while it's selected, if I were to there we go. So holding down shift and then scrolling up and down with the mouse wheel will fade out the brush's effect. So if we were to have a really small brush and we drew a straight line here, hold down on shift and then scroll up and down with the mouse wheel, and you'll see that the brush is fading out to a much wider effect. So this is really cool. So you can do some really nice painting. Basically, this is sort of sculpting to a degree. It's not going to be the full sculpting coming later on, where you can use actual paint brushes and stuff, I'm sure, and alpha masks and things to shape some of these things. But it's a really good start. It's way better and way more intuitive than it was in the previous version of the software.
We're gonna have brushes here as well. So
in the custom base shape panel here on the right.
Yeah, right. Actually, we're just thinking about, is it really necessary to have a full sculpting tool that is working on the anti-terrain? I don't know. Probably it's not really required anymore, because if you just increase the subdivision, you actually have a painting tool. So the idea that we have is to have everything included inside the custom base shape. And there will be a lot of more stuff here. So you'll be able to select mountains with a single click, or also as suggested on Discord, selecting specific areas like same height or same slope level and all this. We also have plans for adding a path tool. It's not really a path tool. It's let's say it's a river tool, something like that. So
Yep.
you could. One of the ideas is to, describe a start point and ending point of the river, and let the algorithm take over control, and it will just create a river, either with a straight line or using some physical things by simulating things, or just applying a complete procedural river. I mean, this could also work for roads and all that stuff. So there's a lot of options that we have now. So actually the idea is to have the custom base shape tool, which we probably will just rename.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the long names. We need something more fancy. It should be something new. Just everyone understands. You just hear it and everyone understands it.
Yeah, all our normal users pretty much know what custom base shape tool. Maybe we could just call it terraforming or something.
Terraform. Oh, that's
something
cool.
Something simple. So Roland asks, are the decimals relevant? I'm assuming the decimals in the subdivision. I don't think there's not an input here yet, and I'm sure
it should be an integer.
Yep, but it's messed that up. I'm sure we can have that snap at some point. As you're doing this, it'll snap to a certain
Yeah, just forget
value.
about it. Just forget about it. It will be complete discrete numbers, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So
Yeah.
just for def reasons now, because we don't have the integer control right now. So
hmm And since I made a stroke and I'm holding shift, will the shift key be configurable like a macro key to whatever you want? Which I guess raises the question on. I know it was one of the points of topics on World Critter 2 that I remember mentioning before, but that may be something that you guys have already thought about adding. Key bindings and macros, personal key bindings for the software.
absolutely, we will have a full input system, a full customizable input system available in WordCraft. So you can just, like in games, you can just remap everything, every action you can remap entirely. For the mouse, for the keyboard, we're gonna support that. I don't know. I just can't. How's it called? That the 3D anxious mouse, or I don't know. I don't know the name of it, but it's a typical CAD mouse. So how is it called? I don't know. Just can't get it. We're gonna have Wacom. I mean, in general, tablet support. Also
Yeah,
for
I'm
this,
anxious to see what the tablet support is. I'm sure that's later on, because we've mentioned before, even in the previous State of Development video, that there will be iPad support too. So it'll be interesting to see how those play together and how workable the environments are. Because I can imagine, I can imagine making a paint stroke like this with a mouse or with a pen on one of the tablets, and then using fancy controls to do this sort of sculpting. That's my initial thought to where I see the tablet versions of both iPad or on Wacom tablets or Bamboo or whatever the brand is to utilize that pen for shaping the terrain, customizing the forms, because adding filters and things like that should be pretty easy anyway. But the golden ticket is that pin.
Please remember that selection that you have here.
Uh-huh.
You just go back a little bit into So move the camera so that you can see the entire selection in full.
Okay.
Okay. Remember that shape. Go to edit mode, please.
Edit mode.
It's
here?
not necessary. Yeah. To the edit mode to the right.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
This will be replaced by buttons, but for now it's just and click on align, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Align. The second one. Align. Yeah. There we go. And now
align.
Reselect again that region that you did.
Okay.
No. Reselect the region on the terrain that you did before. Yeah.
Right here.
Now look. If select the lowest point with your mouse cursor on that stroke here. So,
Probably over
now
here.
hold the left shift and move your mouse. No. Inside the selection. Do it. Actually, you can do that outside as well. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Oh, there. Look at that. So I was going up and down. So you can align it to any point on the terrain, perhaps. So
yeah.
So
you just
I'm going to hold
the face with the mouse.
I'm going to hold down shift and select the top. Look at that. So that's a percentage value to show how much of the percentage that you're aligning to. That's pretty. I like that a lot. So each one of that's what I was going to dive into next is these edit modes. So we have a few different options that we can do here. Let me go ahead and press clear so that we can have a clean plate and perhaps do something over here of whatever it is. Oh, let me change that back to add. There we go. So we tested the align tool, which holds shifts is aligning to that point. That is really nice. So then we have the duplicate tool. So how does this one work? So we say we select all of this, right?
Yeah.
And is it also shift? Yeah, look at there. So we can shift it over, copy it. And what we can do is say if we have this, let's go ahead and change the edit mode to rotate. And let's see how well, if we weren't to rotate this selection. Look at there. Rotate your selection any degree that you want, which is really cool. Say if you want to only rotate a partial part of this piece, rotates around. Now, so the rotation happens around the center point of wherever you hold down shift and the cursor's location. That's what it feels like. So if I wanted to rotate this around my current cursor's position, shift, and keeps rotating around. That's really neat. So the next one is scale. So let's select this piece, shift and scale it up. That is really nice. So I'm going to keep holding this down. So I see that it's scaling up 2 times higher, bigger than what it is. Are we able to control this value here too at some point?
Yeah.
Maybe
each mode will have its own settings actually.
Okay, so you can essentially just type in the value that you want if you already have something in mind.
Right.
That's really cool. All right, and tilt. Go ahead.
You will be able to set the brush size and everything else also using sliders. So
oh yeah, right.
I mean, yeah. So imagine the edit mode. It's currently a drop down, but this will be a button like a tab or something like that. And for each selection that you do, you will see the selection specific settings actually.
Nice.
It would be a lot. So
back to the real quick. Roland asked about the one thing that would be really cool is with the tablets is pin pressure. So maybe if our selection was something like this. And I know we can, whoopsie daisy. Let me do this again and go back to add. Maybe this selection process of how it's feathered out, that smoothness could also be based on pin pressure, perhaps. Or he just mentioned pin pressure with the tablet. So I can see that being, a wide range of maybe custom brushes, here in the custom base shape tool, how you mentioned before, even alpha maps here, maybe you can have, or custom brushes, you have your own, pin brushes, so to speak, where you can add multiple things.
Right. Yeah, of course.
We will write that down.
Will be measured and of course.
Oh, what was that real quick? What'd you say?
That's a very good idea. We will write that down.
Oh, okay. He's probably like, dang, I have something else to code in here. All right. So I'm just going to add a little bit here. And then the next edit mode is the tilt one. So this is a pretty neat one. So I'm just going to make a selection here and then tilt and look at what it does. This is actually going to be one of my favorite things I can tell, just because of making sheer faces, or there's some mountain ranges that look like the rocks are at an angle, or that the way that it's cut in the side is, these undulating striations where they're all at angles. So having these rock faces like this that are at these sheer angles, and one side it's almost a cliff face, would be really cool. I see a lot of use out of this particular tool.
You can even set the operation mode to max. Then the tilt won't go into the terrain.
Okay. So if we had this selection, that makes sense. And the opposite for min, right? So if we wanted to only show, only go below, we can set to a minimum operation as well.
Right.
Exactly. That's really nice. So keep in mind, this operation mode could be a nice combination between multiple different types of these edit modes.
Right.
He says, "I'm really impressed how quickly this was implemented." That's another thing I'd like to point out to everyone here, as well as later on in the YouTube version of this, is that the community around this program is really vast and very communicative between each other. So if there's a feature that somebody adds, these guys really consider it, and they tell you no problem, and you think, sure, it has to be more work than it is, but they do it in record time and get it to you guys in pretty magical time frames. So gotta give you guys kudos for all the effort of making those quick turnarounds.
Kudos to our third developer here. He's not in the channel right now. I think he's just enjoying his spare time right now, because he did the build finally and he's just sent it over, right? And I was like, okay, awesome, it's great, it's here. So yeah, now he's probably playing some cool games, I guess.
So explain this. I think this is new that I've seen, this fall off mode. How exactly do these 4 different settings work?
Well, it depends on what you're actually doing. Depending on the edit mode, you can have either try the tilt with a different fall off.
All right, so tilt. Let me just go ahead and
just do another one.
Let's do linear real quick. Okay, and then change it to smooth. So we'll do this one. So I guess it feathered it more, didn't it?
Yeah.
So here I'm scrolling up and down on the mouse wheel to get this increased feather effect. Let's go to sphere. Look how much sharper that is. So the sphere is got a much harsher edge. And then the last one, well, I should probably have selected it after. So it's sharp. So it's another level of adjustment that you can make. So you can see that the top of the tilt is rather sharp, but I can adjust it even further. Pretty nice effects. So let's clear that and go to something just like add. So that's linear. Smooth and sphere is, you can see that's practically more. It feels like, sphere is more beveled, which is nice.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost kind of like the fall off mode is, changing just how well this, whenever I scroll up and down on the mouse wheel, it's just changing that sharpness base practically. Gotcha.
Right. I think we will have another one where you can describe a curve or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the custom or something, like a custom fall off mode. So you can just describe your own curve.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a series of percentage values or something as well. Gotcha.
Right.
So this is the pretty much the main new feature that I wanted to showcase for sure. It's just really nice stuff. Adding to World Creator 3. I know there's a few different filters that were added since the previous version, and we could probably look at those real quick. Let's talk about sort of when is it still on track to have this sort of available for beta for everyone sometime in December?
You mean exactly what? I didn't understand properly.
Sorry, is it still on track to have a beta version of this open to more people in December, as opposed to the alpha users?
Yes, absolutely. We just have to. I mean, we wanted to have that custom base shape at the very low level included, which I think we did. So we're just gonna improve a few more things. The UI will change slightly. And let me see. And then I think we can go with beta. And during the beta, we were gonna add export. Yeah, actually, yeah. And then we're going to add the media libraries. The ability to add textures and all that stuff. And once this is in, we are going to first official release. And after this is included, then we're going to add all those pretty nice scene builder and the new more filters, extended custom base shape tool with weather tools and all this. So the application will just grow and grow then. It's actually just the same approach as we did with WordCreator 2, but the difference will be that we're going to declare it way sooner as a first official release, because it doesn't make sense to have just one more year or 2 years staying in beta. That was a mistake that we did with WordCreator 2. Actually, I mean, it was far ahead, and we could have released it. Officially released it a year earlier, actually. So we won't do that mistake with WordCreator
3. We learn from everything, and from our people, and feedback is really good.
Yeah, tiling is coming. Tiling is coming, but not in December.
And by tiling,
I think we're gonna head for tiling, and maybe that's a good point. Actually, maybe tiling will be implemented before we're going to include textures. So
yeah, that's I would probably agree with that. That tiling is extremely important, and by tiling, we're still talking about out here adding another chunk or adding another chunk. Having this world set up to where you can keep adding multiple additions to the terrain.
Right.
What about this is something I know I brought up with you personally before, and we haven't talked about it yet. So say if you create your landscape in one tile, and you want to, let me just make a selection here. Say you make this selection, and I'm thinking this for probably for cinema, film and stuff, because I'm sure this would come up handy there. But it could be like that with games too. So say you have your terrain, whether it's X amount of tiles or one tile. But say you make this selection right here. Would it be possible to say, highlight this piece as a fixed, like you lock onto this selection where you want to edit the amount of detail within this selection, kind of like the areas when for biomes in WordCreator 2. But say you want to have the larger terrain is low poly, and you focus on this selection that you've made, which you want to export separately as a much higher level of detail, so that you can kind of control the level of details in games or film. I know we can control this to a degree with precision level, but I didn't know if it would be an interesting idea to have further control pieces on different biomes or selections on how much detail precision level wise there is within that particular selection.
Yeah. Basically, it's possible to do. Let me quickly see. Yeah. So actually, but it won't just. I mean, the precision will go a little bit beyond the beyond your selection, for example. But that wouldn't be a big problem. So actually, you could, yes, it's not a good, it's a pretty good idea. Why not? Having something like rough detail, and only at the points where you want to have the high detail for export reasons or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm also just writing it down on our board.
Yeah, just
cool ideas.
He's like, I'm not going to talk. I'm just this is just information I'm writing down for later.
No, it's totally cool. Every question we got from customers or from the community, we taking every information very seriously, and we discussing it a lot in our team, and we trying to make everybody satisfied and happy, and we have very many ideas coming from the community. That are improving our product actually. So we are trying to fit in everything that comes from the community.
Exactly. That's one really good thing.
So we are very thankful.
This would also be really cool for the rendering thing, actually, right? I mean, selecting a screen space portion of your current screen. Do you have this in very high detail renderer?
Okay, now you're bringing up another topic I think that we've discussed is the level. I mean, you're truly talking about level of detail based on distance. So I think specifically what we were talking about before was the tessellation of the terrain. So say if you have a camera position, somewhere down here, and depending on what precision level you've made the terrain, you can see how, blocky this is. But this mound here, depending on where the camera is, would be really tessellated, really detailed. And then, this mound here in the background wouldn't need that level of detail for your final rendering or final shot.
Right.
Maybe that's something, I don't know if that would be something that's a post-processed effect, or if it's going to be, I wouldn't imagine that you would make that type of detail in line with the generation process of the terrain, because depending on what filters you use, it may deform it a little too much. But it seems like something that is almost like a post-processed effect, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think once we just get to that point, we can further improve these things. The framework we built very flexible, so there are many possibilities actually.